And just giving yourself a huge permission slip to not know, I think is the first step in moving forward. So right now, right here, if you are feeling lost, here is your permission slip. Welcome to Almost Grown Up, the podcast where we figure out adulting life one creative detour at a time. Hi, I'm Lucie, a writer, creator, and your creative companion. And around here, we believe that play and wonder aren't just for kids. In fact, they're the tools that we use to navigate life's big questions, reconnect with joy, and find our way when we realize the map we're using isn't our map. Each week we'll explore growing up with stories, creative inspiration, and one huge permission slip to create your own beautiful and occasionally messy life. Welcome to the Blanket Fort. Let's dive in. Hey team, welcome back to the Blanket Fort. I think it's episode 88 now. I don't know where the time has gone, what has happened, but wow, that's exciting. And today I want to talk about something that is a really common adulting experience, which is that feeling of being lost. Now, it's easy, I think, to feel like lost is something that's kind of a bit abstract, right? And my experience of it to this point has been through really kind of being very, very lost and feeling that I found my way in a couple of years working through a lot of different things to being found again. But then I've realized recently in the last year, I've had a change of identity, a change of priorities. And with that has come a new moment of feeling lost. And it started to dawn on me that actually being lost is not an experience that we have where we were lost once and then we're found. It's actually an experience that comes back over and over and over and over again in adulting life. Now, the first time I really got that sense of feeling lost, I think I was probably in college, and I remember needing to choose what I was going to study for a degree, what I was going to go and choose to study at university. And I remember the weight of making a decision like that and not really knowing, like not having any clue what the right direction was, made me feel really lost. And the same thing happened again when I was graduating university and realizing I all of a sudden needed to try and make a decision about what career I was going to have. And I felt really lost again. And it wasn't until I had this big kind of like blow up my life, kind of grenade everything that I'd built and created moment around my 30s when I really worked out what being lost meant and how I could get out of it. Because I think the other times I kind of bumbled my way through, but in that experience, I was really lost. Not only did I feel like I had just failed at the test of life that I was taking. Spoiler alert, there is no test. Who knew? Who knew? Not 20-year-old Lucie. She did not know. Anyway, bless her. She tried. But as I kind of just got to this moment in that kind of 29, 30, I realized I was so lost because I'd built something that wasn't following my map, that wasn't following my path. It was kind of what I thought I should do to be happy. All of the things that I thought would make me happy, and that if I ticked all of those boxes, that would be right and I would have succeeded. It was really disheartening to realize that I'd sort of achieved that, and that's not how I felt. In fact, I felt the entire opposite. I felt confused and trapped and unfulfilled and just so lost, because that map I'd been using, that way I've been navigating myself up until this point, had all of a sudden gone. I realized it might be true for other people, but it certainly wasn't true for me. And recognizing that you've been following a map that's not your map. So you put the map down, but then where are you? You don't even know where you are anymore. And you have no idea where you're going. And I think that experience and working my way to being found again, little by little, and really using play and wonder as core parts of doing that. Spoiler alert, we were going to talk about those, right? But I actually thought in that moment, as I found myself, that was kind of, I was like, cool, done. I figured that out. I'm now good. Like, that's all good. But it's then not really a surprise that I have found myself lost again. And what I've worked out now is that I know much quicker how to get out of that. I know much quicker how to find myself, find out where I am, find out what I want to do, find out where I'm going to go next, rather than staying in that place of lost for too long. But I do think it is just such a common part of adulting, of being in the world. I mean, even this last week, I've been doing some work and I found myself midweek feeling a bit lost in, hey, what am I really focusing on here? Is my time and attention going to the right things? And I think it's really easy, even in the small level, to feel lost at points. So I think given it's such a common experience and it happens so often to us, that recognizing that is okay, that it's supposed to happen. It's part of up-leveling, it's part of growing and changing. And I think as we grow and maybe move forward, we put ourselves into a whole new landscape where, of course, then we're lost because we've just moved from the familiar into a new place and we don't really know how it works or what's going on. And we need to figure that out step by step by step. So that's why I want to talk about this episode. And I'm going to talk about why I think we get lost and then a few thoughts on how I think we can move from a place of lost to hopefully feeling found again. So when that comes up throughout our lives, throughout the moments of our day, through the arcs of our years, big or small, we have a bit of a toolkit we can use to make a difference. Great. So let's dive in. So I actually think the core reason why we find feeling lost so uncomfortable is because we believe as adults that we should know. We have this false sense of expectation that we should know what is going on all of the time, that we should know what the right next move is, that we should know the right decision, that we should know which path to go down, that we should know, right, that the choices that we make should be a success. The things that we do should be exactly how we thought they would go, or better even. And I think the first real step is recognizing that lost feels bad because we feel like we should know. So if we let ourselves not know, and spoiler alert again, nobody knows, like really nobody knows what they are doing. We are all figuring it out. We are all making it up along the way as we go. We are all making messes and cleaning them up and learning from them and trying again and doing something different. Like that is what it is to be in the world, to learn, to grow. We were okay with that as children. Like it didn't feel so unstabilizing, but this false belief that all of a sudden you get to a point where experience should have taught you everything. I think that's what we think. It's like, okay, well, I experienced everything in childhood, so I should have learned by now, so I should know. But we don't know, especially with those big adulting decisions. We don't get to make them that often, right? I mean, there's only so many times you're choosing a romantic partner or your friends, or whether to have children or not have children, or whether to live in that place or not live in that place, or whether to go traveling, or whether to take a sabbatical, or whether to start a new job, or like that. There are so many decisions like that we make, and we make often in a sense, but we don't make that same decision many, 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 many times. It's not like, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? Which also tough decision, right? Like that's not an easy decision. I'm not saying it's easy, but we get a bit more practice, right? Because we do it every day. So starting to recognize that it's inevitable that we are going to find large decisions difficult and feel a bit lost in them. It is inevitable that when we get into a new place in our life, when we have outgrown a space we were in before and maybe we've made a change, that we would feel lost in that newness because we're not that experienced with it. We're not supposed to know. And just giving yourself a huge permission slip to not know, I think is the first step in moving forward. So right now, right here, if you are feeling lost, here is your permission slip. You do not need to know the answer. You will figure it out along the way. And this is, I think, where the second piece comes in, because I think we're so used to listening to the voices around us, to the shoulds, to the people who give advice, to the influencers, to social media, to the news, to our parents, to all of these external voices that aren't our own. And hey, pot calling the kettle black, I'm aware right now I am sitting here sharing my thoughts and opinions. But they're not your thoughts and opinions, so you don't have to take them. Take them with a pinch of salt, take what's useful, leave the rest, and trust that you are going to be the person that figures it out, not me. I can maybe give you some suggestions of things that have worked for me or some tools that I think could be useful to try. But really at the end of the day, when we're so busy following everybody else's advice, ideas, things because they're experts, because they've done it, because they're our parents, or they're our older sibling, or they're our best friend, or, they're this person that we really look up to. When we're so busy following that, we forget to listen to ourselves. And the more we follow that other person, that other idea that isn't us, the more we end up losing trust in ourselves. And that is also what makes feeling lost really uncomfortable. Because if we were to feel lost, and instead of feeling stressed that we don't know the answer and we don't have the answer, and even more worried that we're not going to figure it out because we don't trust ourselves too, so we're scrabbling around to have somebody else pull us from this place of feeling lost, if we change that experience to recognizing that we don't need to know and we're going to figure it out, and trusting ourselves to figure it out, to really believe that, hey, I've got this. And yes, I might use some other people's advice. And yes, I might ask my best friend what she thinks of this, or I might kind of solicit some advice from somebody who's an expert. But all of that, I'm just going to take with a pinch of salt, take what's useful, leave what's not, and trust myself and my voice inside, my experience, the things I've learned to figure it out. So there's a quote that I love that I can't properly remember who it is by and exactly what it is, so I'm going to put that all in the show notes. But it is something like, good experience or good choices come from experience. Experience comes from bad choices. And the idea that actually we need to trust our experience, trust that in this feeling lost, we are building experience, we are building the next thing that we are going to work on, the next thing that we are going to figure out. All of that is coming in this moment. And I think if we can just take a step back to trust ourselves, it makes a huge difference. So hopefully you can give yourself permission, and hopefully you can start to work on feeling a little bit more trust in yourself. So as we open the gateway to those two things, here is a 3-step process that I think is incredibly useful to help us move out of that space of lost into feeling more found. First up is to pay attention. Now, I've talked a lot on this show before about how wonder is found through attention, but I actually think one of the biggest powerhouses of paying attention is that we build presence and we build connection. So when we pay attention to what is going on, we step into the present moment. And if we're lost, if we don't know where we are, finding ourselves in the present moment is an incredibly useful place to start, right? That's being able to say like, hey, imagine that mall map or whatever, and it's like that you are here. It's like being able to say, hey, I'm here, and I know I'm here because I'm actually present and paying attention to where I am and what is going on. And even if that's small practices of just a mini daily check-in with yourself first thing in the morning, before you even open your eyes, just check in with your body. Where are you? How are you feeling? What's going on? And maybe you check in with your mind and your emotions and see what's happening there. And just get a sense before you start the day of where you are. And then try and pull that practice in as you go throughout your day. Just take a moment when you're waiting in a queue, when you're, on your way to go shopping, when you are making a cup of coffee, that you actually just pause and use those already waiting moments, that already blank space. Instead of reaching for your phone, because you're probably going to reach for your phone, I do it all the time. And the moment you reach for your phone to like check a text or do something to fill the time, I want you to put your phone back in your pocket or your bag. And I want you to just take a moment. If you can close your eyes, close your eyes. If that feels weird, depending on where you are, don't close your eyes. That's cool, you don't need to, but just pay attention to where you are. And if you're waiting in a queue, maybe it's a simple act of just being like, hey, how am I feeling? Or I don't really want to check in with how I'm feeling, but I'm going to notice everything that's blue around me. Cool. Small things like that. It doesn't have to be direct connection to self for us to be present and for us to start connecting into ourselves and being able to start listening. Because the more we practice paying attention, the more we practice being in that state, the easier it becomes. And then when we do put that energy on saying, hey, where am I right now? Hey, what do I want right now? Hey, this feeling of, anxiety in my chest, where is that coming from? Okay, what makes that feel better? This activity made that feel better. Hey, I don't feel so anxious anymore. Maybe that's something I could do more of, for example. Or, hey, I think that is linked to the fact that I'm worrying about this thing. I didn't realize I was worrying about that so much. I didn't realize I was holding my breath. I didn't realize I had my shoulders hunched up like this. All of those moments of paying attention. I mean, even there, just me, I've just dropped my shoulders, right? Because I've realized I was holding my shoulders a little bit. And you only find that out when you pay attention. And the more moments of attention that we gather up, the better practice we become, the quicker we are at finding ourselves where we are and being able to start to listen to that tiny voice, to those whispers of where next. Because that's obviously the next step, right? And I just want to pause for a moment as well and mention, I think attention and connection are so important because they talk a lot about using the practice of wonder, for example, wonder walks, which is a great practice where you go out and you just notice things. And the studies that they've done shows that when people do that, they feel more connected to the world around them. They feel more connected to the people around them, and they feel more connected to themselves. And I think one hugely helpful way out of lost is to realize that we are not alone. Is to realize that we are connected. There are some threads that we can pull. There are some directions that we can go. There are some things that we can lean on to help us find our way. And when we step into that place of wonder and practice that place of wonder regularly, that connection gets easier and easier and easier. And we can then not only hear the sparks, which I'm going to come on to next, but we can also feel like we are supported. And I think the moment we can feel a bit more supported and a bit less alone, you just relax a bit, right? Feeling lost feels a little bit easier. And sometimes that's the point, right? To make things a little bit easier for ourselves. So we are paying attention. We have given ourselves permission to not know, and we are stepping into trusting ourselves to figure it out. And then we're paying attention. We're in the present moment. We've kind of grounded ourselves in where we are, and we're continuing to check back in. And maybe we started to hear this little voice, or to get sparks of inspiration or interest or energy, just tiny, tiny flickers. So the next thing to do is follow those sparks. It's that, that's a cute dog. I really like dogs. I want to spend more time with dogs. Cool. That is an interest. Go follow that. Go see how you can make that happen. Or, I'm actually really craving a croissant today. I'm going to go and have a croissant today, because how often do you actually check in with yourself before you eat? And how much do you just eat based on what you usually eat, what is in your fridge, what your diet says, etc., etc. And don't get me wrong, it's really useful from a health point of view to sometimes kind of figure that out, plan in advance, cook in advance, all of that stuff. But there's also something really important about kind of checking in with you and your body about what it wants and what it needs. And that's a really great, simple practice. If it feels too big to go and follow an interest or a spark that is outside yourself, just trying to follow your own interest in food a little bit and not be swayed by what other people are craving, what you usually do, but actually just give yourself a meal that you want. That can be an amazing first step. So follow those sparks, find those little bits of interest, because in there are clues that are hidden to help us refine that energy, to help us connect with ourselves. And my suggestion would be is once you find a spark, you go and turn it into what is step 3, which is small, continuous, playful acts. And I want you to find a thing and commit to doing that thing or following that interest for, let's say, 30 days. And it can be a small thing. I'm talking like 5 minutes. But I want you to do it every single day, because there is something in the repetition, especially of playing and experimenting and following an interest, but in a broad way, and not needing to be a certain thing, but experimenting with all the different things it could be, that creates so much momentum and so much energy for us that all of a sudden we're going to one day wake up and feel a lot more founded. We're not going to know how we've got there, but we've got there in those 5 minutes a day. And I had this experience so strongly when I had kind of grenaded my life, and I had this blank sheet. I had no map. I'd torn up the map that I had because it wasn't my map. And then I was like, wait, I have no map. I have nothing. What am I going to do? I have a blank sheet of paper. And most people, I think you'll agree with me, we find a blank sheet of paper quite scary, right? That cursor at the top of the page on a Word document, or when you turn a page in a sketchbook, or when you just get a white sheet of paper put in front of you, because it's there. It has so much possibility in it, but there's so much fear about getting it wrong. There's so much fear about where do we start. There's so much fear about what do we do. And I was so scared of the blank sheet of paper because I still didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to get it wrong. I didn't want to get my life wrong again. I didn't want to fail a second time at the test of life, right? And I was still very much in that space of feeling like that was a reality that could happen. So I took a blank sheet of paper, and every single day, for 100 days, I actually did this, I drew a different version of my life, a different thing that I could do. And I've talked about this in my book, because I think this power of 100-day project is so cool, and it's not my thing. And I will include in the show notes the credits of where it all came from and how you can find out more about it. But what is great about a project like that, where you commit to a certain amount of days or time and do the same action, is you really create momentum. And day by day, by day, by day, by day, I filled up a blank sheet of paper with a version of a life. And slowly I filled a wall with all of these blank sheets of paper. I basically wallpapered a room with possibilities. And you might think it was overwhelming, but actually it was so freeing to realize there were all of these different things I could do that felt okay. So actually, if I chose one and it didn't work out, there was another one to choose. Or if I didn't know which way to go, I could just start with one, and I knew that would feel good, and then I could go on to another one. And what it helped me to do was, one, get way less scared of a blank sheet of paper, but two, to recognize that with that momentum, what I had created was a sense of possibility. I'd created the energy to go after it as well. And I don't know if I've actually lived out any of those possibilities. I'm going to need to go back and check through that stack of 100 sheets of paper and see how much of that has come to fruition. But just the practice of doing that and the energy and momentum it created really helped me move forward. And I think what it does when we play on a regular basis and allow ourselves to make mistakes, allow ourselves to experiment, allow ourselves to hold things lightly and worry less about the end destination and enjoy the journey more, I think we give ourselves this permission to just enjoy life, right? Because ultimately life is that journey. We don't want to speed up to anywhere. We might take these kind of arrive at a place, but it's just a rest stop on the journey, right? And they're great. Don't get me wrong about being in a moment in your life when you're in a rest stop and you're enjoying having some food and drink with loved ones, you're watching the sunset, etc., etc. But you're going to get your backpack back on and you're going to go walking again. You're going to carry on that journey. And that is what life is. So the more we can practice creating momentum, enjoying the journey, not worrying about the end destination, and trusting that we will figure it out along the way. Because when you let yourself go on the journey, you often find that life surprises you with where you end up. Like where I am now, I probably wouldn't have planned this. I don't know if this was on a sheet of paper. I don't think I could have necessarily imagined that this would be the reality I was living. But I'm really happy this is the reality I'm living. Even feeling lost in this moment, I can recognize that I wouldn't have planned it. I would not have made myself get here. But I'm really happy I'm here. And I'm sure as I go through another uncomfortable, ugly duckling stage of growth and change, that I will end up somewhere else. And there will be so many good things about where I end up. And it will probably surprise me again. And I think just letting ourselves trust that we will figure it out and enjoy the journey along the way, it makes all the difference. So your call to adulting today is to just start to pay attention. Just do a mini check-in with where you are and what you're doing. And it could be just a physical check-in with, hey, where's my body at? How am I feeling? How am I feeling right now? Or it could be, hey, I just want to check in with my habits, like where and how am I spending my time or my energy, and does that feel aligned with what I want to do? Or I'm just going to pause and look out of the window for a second and see what I can see, because I really believe that even if you can just take a couple of minutes to be in the present moment, you start something new. You start a chain of energy, of momentum in a direction. And if you are feeling lost on a small scale, it's useful. If you're feeling lost on a big scale, it is the start. And trust that it feels like a tiny action, and often these tiny actions don't feel like they make a difference, but it is the tiny action that we take today and tomorrow and the next day that is the thing that makes the change. So I really hope that you can take a moment today to give yourself permission to not know, and to gaze out the window and just see what you find when you do. I hope there are so many sparks coming your way. I hope there are so many moments of wonder. I would love to hear what you see out of your window. Leave me a comment and let me know what you spot today. And yeah, I will do the same. I will go look out the window and tell you what I'm finding. But thank you so much for being on this journey for me. Thank you so much for being in the blanket fort. If you want more play and wonder, if you're feeling a little bit lost, I've actually just launched a 7-day play and wonder challenge, which you can do. You can find it via my website or via my social media, and it is just 7 days of 5-minute challenges that you can do to tap into play, to tap into wonder, and hopefully work through whatever's going on, or just amplify some more pleasure in your life, or just enjoy getting to play for the goodness of it, for the joy of it, for the huge permission slip that it is to adult the way you want to adult. So I would love to see you for the challenge. It would be awesome. If you want to stay in touch, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on email. Reach out, say hi, let me know how you're doing. We need to catch up. We need to catch up more because I've missed you all. So yeah, reach out, say hi, get in touch. And I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you find a little spark outside your window when you look out. I will be back next week. But in the meantime, happy growing.